welcome to Pakistan. And I hope you have been around here for the last 3-4 days. How did you find Pakistan? What is your impression about the country and the people?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me today. It's really been incredible. I'm very grateful to the Pakistani people for welcoming us with such warmth, generosity, and hospitality. Yesterday, when we were giving a tour by a tour guide, he said, Pakistan is known for its hospitality, and we've certainly felt it. My husband and I are very grateful to get this opportunity. The country is beautiful, and every single person that we've met has treated us like family.
You have been to Pakistan for the first time. People would like to know about your story because your story has some magic about it. So would you like to share with the young boys and girls of Pakistan that who is Ilhan Omar?
Yeah, I mean, my story is one of trial and triumph. Like many people, across the world, I grew up and was born into a very loving family, had an amazing upbringing. And fortunately, again, like many people around the world, my country of birth fell into civil war. And we had to flee that conflict. And because of generosity of people, we were taken in as asylum seekers in neighboring country Kenya, where I spent 4 years as a person living stateless in a refugee camp. And we eventually got sponsored to come to the United States, where I was able to fully continue my education and get acclimated into life there. We were originally in the East Coast, but found our home in Minnesota. I think a lot of people who hear about Minnesota hear how cold it is, but the people have warm hearts, and it's been my home for the last 2 decades, and I now have the honor of representing my neighbors, my former teachers, the people who are helping raise my children in Congress.
And what do you think is the main reason behind your rise to politics? The way you, first Muslim woman and a first woman of color who was elected to the Congress. What do you think? What was this rise?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people would say I got lucky, but a wise person once said, luck is preparation when preparation meets opportunity. And I have been very immersed in the challenges in the community that I was being raised in, from seeing people who've been disenfranchised with economic challenges, who haven't had full access to educational opportunities, to people who are dealing with Islamophobia and racial discrimination. And I've always done my part. As my grandfather used to say, the United States is great because the people of it have always pushed for progress. And you can either be the person who sits on the sidelines and complains, or you can get in the ring and fight for the things that you believe in. And when the opportunity came for me to run for office, I knew that I've been preparing all along. And my neighbors believed in me and elected me into office in 2016.
Once you talk of human rights, you have been a great champion of human rights. And what we see around, once you come to Pakistan, you see on our eastern borders, the way human rights are being violated. So what has been your perception? You have been to the place, you have met people. So how do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. For me, I think the uplifting of people's human rights and dignity is an essential part of actually recognizing the humanity of others. As someone, from a young age who experienced oppression and a violation of my human rights and my sovereignty, I believe it is my duty now that I have been put in a position of power to advocate for those who don't have that power, to visit with Kashmiris who speak of the wounds, physical wounds, bullet holes in their bodies, because of the ceasefire violations of India, was really an incredible experience. I've, as you know, taken up the question of Kashmir and the question of Palestine, and it's been important for me to raise those issues, but I haven't had the opportunity to actually visit a place where that's where that's happening, and so it's incredibly valuable to do that, to witness it firsthand, to have these conversations, to ask the people how do they want to be in partnership with me as a lawmaker or as an advocate of human rights in advocating for theirs.
Do you think your visit, the way you have seen things here, your squad can play a more vocal role in highlighting their situation?
Of course. You know, when we're in Congress in the United States, many times we speak about human rights violations around the world, and we use, you know, reports that come out from folks who report on human rights to get the actual opportunity to speak with people whose human rights are being violated, who have experienced violence themselves. Makes the question and the urgency much more necessary.
You have been to Lahore, you visited some of the historic, perhaps you visited the walled city, and what are your impressions about this historic city?
I have seen Lahore in movies since I was 5 years old, and have you know, watched movies that have been made about Akbar the Great, and to actually now be in Lahore, to experience Punjab culture, to experience their hospitality. It is really a check of my wish list of things to do. It's been really an incredible experience, and I know that anybody who, you know, will hear about my experience here will see the videos and photos that I will share of my trip once I get back and have full access back to my social media. Will probably be thinking about how do they get their ticket to come visit Lahore.
That's wonderful. Talking about Lahore, the city, your visit has been quite significant. Pakistan and US are celebrating the 75 years of diplomatic relations. So how do you think your visit to Pakistan can contribute to bolster these relationships in future?
Yeah, there is a long-standing relationship and partnership, as you just alluded to, between Pakistan and the United States of America. It's 75 years. Obviously, it's been rocky at times, but I believe that both sides have been committed to that relationship, and I think that there is a path to strengthening that relationship. I think Americans have benefited from the entrepreneurial spirit of Pakistanis, their innovation, their focus on advancing technology and healthcare. Many people who meet Pakistanis for the first time are meeting them as their doctors and physicians. They just don't know, they just have been treated by a Pakistani. And I think that, you know, continuing these sort of person-to-person connections and relationships will ultimately strengthen our diplomatic relationship. And I think it needs to be one that is centered in full partnership, one that is equal, one that is mutually beneficial. You know, we have a huge diasporic Pakistani community in the United States, and I know that they are eager to strengthen that relationship too. And I look forward to not only having a conversation with the Biden administration, but also having a conversation with the Pakistani diaspora on ways that I can work with them to strengthen their relationship and their exchange in bringing back resources, whether it's knowledge, whether it's business connection, whether it is investment in educational opportunities here. I've also been really incredibly humbled by the generosity of political leaders in Pakistan who have put their political differences aside to create a wonderful experience for us with ease. And I think many people who are reading about Pakistan, who have seen Pakistan in some TV shows, would be shocked to hear just how easy our trip has been, how incredibly joyful the people here are, and how there is a real commitment to a human connection. If I can just also share one really fascinating thing that I experience. I'm always someone who's looking at how do we create cultural harmony. And I think Lahore is sort of an example of that. Yesterday we were visiting a masjid. There was a Sikh temple next door. There is a Hindu temple also on the other corner, and there is a church on the other corner. So here's, in the center of Lahore, in four corners, there are people who are practicing four different faiths. And I think oftentimes when people think about Pakistan, that's not an image that they think of. And I think that's an experience that will enhance their understanding if they got the opportunity.